Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing a nonfiction book, Bright-Sided by Barbara Ehrenreich. I'll talk a little bit about my history with the author, go into what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, and then I'll finish off with what I'll be reading next time. So Barbara Ehrenreich is an author who's best known for her nonfiction work, really specifically her works on kind of working class people and how they are treated in society as a whole over the last 20 or 30 years. Probably still her best known work is Nickel and Dimed, which is where she worked as, I believe, a minimum wage worker. It may have been a waitress for a few weeks and kind of documented her experience with that. This is the first of her stuff that I have read. I tried reading Nickel and Dimed probably about 10 years ago and didn't really didn't power through it. Had a little bit of a difficult time with that, so I kind of stopped reading pretty shortly through, maybe a quarter way through. This book, Bright-Sided, is really less of a kind of on-the-street reporting and more almost in the form of essays looking at different aspects of American society and how optimism, if it goes completely unchecked, becomes kind of a negative attribute that kind of blinds people to certain behaviors that is really not in their best interest. So she looks at certain kind of prosperity preachers. She looks at the financial industry. This book was written like right after, I think it was published in 2009, so it's written shortly after the financial crash of 2007, 2008. She looks at why Americans are typically seen as more optimistic than other peoples in other countries. And kind of, to me, the best part of the book was when she has an account of her experience as a breast cancer survivor and going through the whole kind of industry that's really built around being diagnosed and treated with breast cancer. And then also she talks a little bit about how psychologists have kind of globbed onto positive thinking and kind of its effect on psychology and things like that. So I think that chapter specifically was a standout as far as her experience as a breast cancer survivor. I think some of my issues with the book were structurally wise. I think she kind of started that chapter pretty early on in the book, and I wish it had kind of been organized in a different manner. I think she could have started with maybe the history of America being optimistic people and kind of going into the different industries and then maybe ending with her personal story. I think it would have been a better book overall if it had been structured that way. I had kind of a hard time after that first section of just kind of sticking with it. It did feel like somewhat of a slog. I'm not sure exactly why that was. I think some of it had to do with her writing style. She writes in a way where she has a lot of asides where she'll comment on people's quotes and kind of insert her own opinions on them, and kind of snide is maybe too harsh of a word, excuse me, but kind of in a side manner that kind of irked me after a while. But if you're someone who really hasn't thought about how blind optimism is something that could be a negative force, and I think she does have in the end, when she's kind of wrapping up the book, I think she makes some good points about how that kind of can lead to conformity as a whole in society. I wish she had written maybe more on society as a whole in the book, and maybe that had been the focus and less on kind of some of these industries, because you're either going to really enjoy those parts or you're really going to not enjoy them. So that's kind of Bright-Sided. I struggled with it, to be honest with you. It really didn't grip me in a way that I was kind of hoping for. I think, like I said, a lot of it is maybe the writing style. A lot of it is things that I've kind of thought about too, and I think she does make some good points in the book. If it's something that you haven't kind of pondered or thought about at all, I think it's probably a good book to do that. It's relatively short. It's only a couple hundred pages, so it's probably a pretty good book if you're going for a plane flight or something, or just as going for a beach read or a trip that's fairly short. You can kind of power through it. So that's Bright-Sided by Barbara Ehrenreich. And next time I'm going to be reading John Updike's The Witches of Eastwick. So until next time, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, And until next time, bye.